Hello, Ghost of Lilacs here to welcome you back to the $1 Million Pizza Challenge. This series was recorded after the 1.6 update. I'm playing on the Nintendo Switch with 0 mods. If you missed the previous episodes, here's a recap. There are many pizza-related Stardew challenges. This is my own with my own set of rules, which will be outlined in the description box below. All you need to know right off the bat is that my goal is to have 1 million gold, cash on hand, not total earned. All of the rules are outlined in the description below. If you'd like to take a closer look at them, let's get started. I awoke to a bitter chill in the air on day 1. The once vibrant valley had fallen into the deep slumber of winter. With no pizza-related crops to grow, I wandered into town. I stopped at the bus stop where a shadow guy was hanging out. He fled when he saw me, and I took off after him. I was stopped when Morris of Joja was holding a celebration in my honor for unlocking all of the community improvements. He gave me a soda machine, and I know just the place to put it. I found the shadow guy hiding behind a bush very close to what used to be the community center. He gave me a magnifying glass which can be used to read secret notes. I stopped in the sewer to give a star drop tea to Krobus for his birthday. It was special order day, but neither of them appealed to me, so I went to Clint's and had my hoe upgraded to gold. I was off to the mines when Willie stopped me to give me a copper pan. I'm only interested in a personal pan pizza, so this will not be utilized. To get to Ginger Island, I would need 5 battery packs, and while I had used some for my crystallariums, there weren't any thunderstorms in fall. So I would have to wait until next spring to fix Willie's boat. I wasn't happy about this, but if I farm enough jade to get more staircases, I can get to the lower mine levels in the Skull Caverns. There is a 5% chance that iridium bats will drop a battery pack. 2 packs if I have the burglar ring. I got to work killing dust sprites, and by the end of the evening I had less than 100 to go. Once I reach 500, I'll get that burglar ring. I felt lucky as I got ready to head into the mines on day 2. The day before, I had found a pretty blue shirt in the caverns and decided to wear it with my straw farming hat since I would be farming for dust sprites all day. While I was there, I picked up as much iron as possible. I could use this to craft some bombs of my own. I knew I was close to my goal, but it was getting late, so I checked my total at the Adventurers Guild. 489 out of 500. Hey, that's not bad at all. I'll definitely have this finished up tomorrow. I left with 240 pieces of iron, plus some jade, rubies, and quartz I would trade for desert goodies. Day 3 started a little differently. I made 10 more preserve jars for my tomatoes. I left the farm and found the wizard waiting for me by the bathhouse. Something about drama with his ex-wife, who was a witch, and he wanted his magic ink back. This is definitely not a priority to me, so I left. It was Linus's birthday, and I gave him one of my hot peppers. I picked up my gold hoe from Clint and ran around digging up everything I could find before heading into the mines. Just before 6 o'clock, I met the goal. I went to the Adventurers Guild to claim my prize, the burglar ring. Monsters have a greater chance of dropping loot. I spent the rest of the evening cutting down some trees and clearing the quarry. On my way home, I found a book, Combat Quarterly, and by reading it, I gained some combat experience. On day 4, I woke up feeling lucky again, and I was going to use that to my advantage. I dropped off an ancient doll to the museum and had Clint open some mystery boxes to reveal more food, warp totems, and seeds. I headed to the desert oasis specifically. I presented my club card to the bouncer and told that blockhead to step aside. I entered the club and met the famous Mr. Key, who told me I was special. He told me he was the one who put the treasure chests in the mine shaft. Seriously, this guy has way too much free time. The file on me is kinda cool and kinda stalkerish. I checked out the alien rarecrow scarecrow I wanted and ate a spicy eel to hopefully increase my luck. I blew 10 grand on key coins to get started, and then I hit the slots. I played pretty well, and before I knew it, I had acquired enough from my new alien friend. I stopped in Skull Cavern for a minute and decided I didn't want to be there. I returned home and was off to the secret woods for slime bashing and hardwood gathering. While in the Cindersap forest, I dug up some artifacts. I went to the sewer and picked up the Dark Talisman as part of the wizard quest, but I was really there to catch the slimejack fish. because I think it's pretty. I spent most of day 6 around town. On Fridays, Krobus sells iridium sprinklers, so I stopped by the sewers to purchase one. I dropped off goodies to the museum, and after buying some trout soup and trap bobbers from Willie, I was off to the cindersap forest to reel up the glacier fish, which I caught on the first try. I reported my achievement to Willie and fished in the ocean the rest of the afternoon into early evening when I fished up a squid. At the saloon, I gave Demetrius a herring, completing a fetch quest, and delivered a squid for Willie. I was up to fish in the mines when Linus stopped me. He was glad we were friends, and after squishing around in his tent, gave me some wild bait. When using the wild bait, there's a chance to snag 2 fish, and it can be found in treasure chests. On level 20 of the mines, I fished up the ghostfish and stonefish. Back at the farm, I crafted a chest for fish that I will need for fetch quests, and some that I just like to look at. On day 6, I figured since I had that dark talisman for the wizard's quest, I may as well finish it. There was a henchman outside of the witch's hut, and he refused to move aside so I could enter. It turns out that goblin henchmen are huge fans of void mayonnaise. I don't have chickens, eggs, or mayonnaise makers. I could have bought a void egg from Krobus and turned it into mayo, but decided it would be more fun to fish for it. I spent most of the day fishing up algae and void salmon until my luck turned around and there was a void mayo. I gave it to the goblin, he was delighted, and ran off, leaving the house open. I grabbed the magic ink and stepped on a warp that took me to the wizard's basement. I found a statue that let me change my appearance for a small fee, so I did. I had my short hair for most of the year, and as there are no hair cutters in Pelican Town, I had let it grow out. It had been under my hat this whole time. I returned the ink to the creepy wizard, who gave me access to a magical book thingy. With it, I can build magical buildings on my farm and obelisks. I won't use it, but I guess that's cool. I got everything ready for my weekly trip to the desert I'd be taking in the morning. I crafted a bunch of bombs with the iron I had mined while farming for dust sprites and was off to bed. The morning of day 7, I smelled something awful outside. I thought it was my anchovy fish pond, but it was just my good friend Pierre letting me know he'd be getting some new seeds next year. Spring seeds would now include garlic, something I'm permitted to cultivate. It was time for the Skull Caverns. I traded my rubies, jade, and quartz and made the descent. Many consider the number 7 lucky, and it certainly felt that way. It wasn't until that evening that the impossible finally happened. A prismatic shard appeared when I blasted open an iridium ore node. The scream I screamed could be heard all the way back in Pelican Town. 2 hours later, I found a mystic geode, the same kind of geode I expected to find on my quarry. There's only a small chance that once it's opened, it will produce a prismatic shard, and today it did. I left the cavern and ran to the 3 pillars in the desert. I held one of the shards up to the sky, and behold, the galaxy sword was bestowed upon me from the heavens. I raced back home with 88 pieces of iridium and started smelting. I had picked up the high heat shirt in the mines and decided to wear it to bed that night. Here's a quick look comparing my previous weapon to my current weapon. The Festival of Ice had arrived on day 8. After finishing my chores, I headed into the cindersap forest for the festivities. I bought an icy banner to commemorate the occasion, and it was time to start the ice fishing tournament. I won and was awarded a hat and some bobbers I decided to sell. When I returned to my farm, I did some decorating before putting my new sailor hat on Diane and a pirate hat on Blinky. An explosion was heard during the night. On day 9, I woke up in a bad mood. Last night, it had taken a while for me to fall asleep, and just as I was drifting off to slumberland, there was a loud explosion. A cursory glance around the farm, and everything looked okay. I made some mixed winter seeds from forage I had found around the valley, then went off to take care of my animals. That's when I saw a meteor in the middle of my animals' area, so I broke it apart with my pickaxe. If it had been elsewhere on the farm, I would have probably kept it where it was, but it was going to be in the way here. Breaking it yielded 2 omni geodes, some rocks, and some iridium ore. My anchovy pond was thriving, and the fishies had requested 2 pieces of coral. I went to the beach to pick them up when a special order caught my eye. It was Robin's Resource Rush. The carpenter challenged me to collect 1,000 pieces of wood in a week. Easy peasy. My farm is a mess, so that would take no time at all. I got to work taking down the trees at the bus stop and then moved on to my farm. I was done by the evening and had earned 2,500 gold plus all the wood I had gathered. I watered my crops and headed back to the beach. Sandy from Calico Desert requested a squid, so once I caught one, I headed home. I could hand that in tomorrow. Day 10 was a day for fetch quests and fishing. It all started when I received a letter from Mayor Lewis thanking me for helping my neighbors, and a 2,500 gold gift was included. For completing Robin's Resource Rush, the carpenter sent me blueprints for a stone chest. I used my last desert warp totem to visit the desert trader and get some more. I caught some sandfish while I waited for the oasis to open, and then I delivered the squid to Sandy. Back in town, I delivered an earth crystal to George. I ran into Elliot, who called me the town's #1 ice fisher. I'd be lying if I said I didn't blush a little. I turned in some prize tokens for a cow decal and some Omni geodes. I gave Sebastian a frozen tear for his birthday. He seemed really happy. I fished the rest of the evening. On level 60 of the mines, I couldn't find the ice pip anywhere. I kept getting algae and ghost fish. I moved on to floor 100 and fished up the lava eel almost instantly. I wouldn't say that I'm trying to catch all the fish, but as it's winter and I'm a little tired of mining, it's a nice change of pace. After the squid fishing tournament later this week, that sentiment will most likely change. Day 11 was supposed to be lucky, so I was off to the desert. I wasn't planning on doing a deep dive into the Skull Cavern. In fact, it was very slow going for most of the day. I found a secret note I had been waiting for, letting me know that someone was waiting for me on the 100th floor of the desert mines. I wasn't going to do a deep dive until I had well over 100 staircases for that mission. In the past, I've gotten by only using a few, but my focus isn't the mines. It's pizza, so I don't have any problem just spamming stairs on the way down. My galaxy sword was making quick work of the beasties, but it took some time getting used to the speed difference in my new weapon. I had a stroke of luck that evening when I found a prismatic shard, and in the next room, a treasure chest had another prismatic shard. I felt so defeated when I couldn't find one on my quarry, and now I had encountered 4 within the past 7 days. I left the mines, pockets full of gems and other goodies. What a great day! I think the most boring day in the valley so far was day 12. I bought an iridium sprinkler from Krobus and headed to the fishing shindig at the beach. I bought more bait from Willie before I fished up 12 squid and received some okay prizes. The bookseller was in town, so I bought 2 books to give me some experience in foraging and combat. I questioned if this was the best way to spend my money, decided it was, and made that money back with all of the fish I sold. I wanted to bring home the bacon on day 13, so I stopped by Marnie's and bought 4 pigs. Get it? Bacon! Anyway, bacon, pepperoni, ham, and sausage joined my cow and goat friends in the barn. Buying them now ensures they will definitely be adults by the time spring rolls around. Truffles and truffle oil will play an integral role in my path to pizza millionaire status. I cleaned up the farm a bit and delivered a void essence to the wizard. While I was there, I looked at his Enchanted Buildings book and moved some of my own farm buildings around. I still have so much to do to make my farm look nice, but there's only so much time in the day. I sold some junk I had lying around in my main chest and took some old weapons and accessories up to Marlin at the Adventurers Guild, where I sold them. I picked up a vampire ring I had earned by slaying bats, and I decided to poke around in the lower levels of the mine for a little bit to test out my galaxy sword before heading home for the night. I awoke on day 14 to a hot pepper harvest in the greenhouse. They've been going into the dehydrators every day, and it's been a steady source of income during the snowy season. I usually venture into the desert cavern on Sundays, but it was a bad luck day, so I just exchanged my gems and minerals for food, staircases, and bombs. I returned to town and wished Harvey, the town doctor, a happy birthday with one of his favorites, a hot cup of coffee. I dropped off some goodies at the museum and wandered around the lower levels of the mines before heading home. I had definite plans for day 15. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the night market would be taking place at the beach. I didn't want to stray too far from town as I wanted to be able to enjoy the special event without too much rushing. I worked around my farm, starting with enlarging the area I had fenced off for my animals to graze. I expanded my crop growing area and crafted some more basic sprinklers. I don't have any battery packs, so I can't make iridium sprinklers, and the ones I bought from Krobus I'm saving for Ginger Island. I didn't have time to finish everything I wanted, but it was getting late. I stopped by the special orders board on my way to the beach and picked up Gunther's Fragments of the Past request. I'll need to collect 100 pieces of bone. That just means skeleton slaying. No biggie. I bought cauliflower seeds, 384 to be exact. The first day of spring is always chaotic, and if I could save myself some time that day by already having some seeds, it would make me feel better about the changing of the seasons. I grabbed some free coffee and took the deep fishing submarine tour. I fished up the fish unique to the night market, the spookfish, the midnight squid, and the blobfish. I also caught an iridium band accessory in a fishing chest and equipped it immediately. I could have crafted one of these, but forgot about it. It will increase my attack by 10% while acting as a magnet and glow ring. I left the sub and bought some decorations for my farm. It's not as if I'm anywhere near my $1 million right now, and I wanted to buy something nice for myself. I watched the mermaid show. And when it was over, I played the melody on the shells to receive a pearl. I warped back home, put away some fish from my collection, and sold the rest. It was another day of spring preparations on day 16. I set up my decorations and harvested the tomatoes in my greenhouse. I gathered up the bounty of forage from my mixed winter seeds and crafted more. I harvested my first round of powder melons. I crafted several seed makers and processed all of the powder melons back into seeds. Some turned into mixed seeds and one turned into an ancient seed. I'm sure it all seems very wasteful when there's money to be made here, but I'm going to be very happy when the first day of spring rolls around and I'll just have a bunch of wilted plants to clear away rather than branches, rocks, and weeds. I stopped by the night market for a melon seed. I will need this for Ginger Island. I bought a pretty mermaid painting and did a little fishing at a spawning spot. After the fish moved on, I too retreated to the mines to get started on Gunther's bone collecting quest. I didn't make a lot of progress, but I picked up some iron and a piece of jade that will be traded in for a staircase. I wasn't planning on attending the night market on day 17, so I got to work harvesting my hot peppers, made more mixed winter seeds, and replanted them. I added more pathing on my way to the wizard's tower. It was his birthday, and I gave him a dark essence. I returned to the mines to work on Gunther's quest. I acquired several bone swords and took a short break to sell 4 of them. I found another before returning home for the night. A letter was waiting for me on day 18. It was from Mayor Lewis, informing me of the upcoming Feast of the Winter Star. I had to provide a present for a villager, and I was assigned Shane. I just want to point out how disappointed I was that it wasn't my good friend Pierre. I crafted a whole bunch of oil makers in anticipation of the truffles my pigs would be digging up. This used up nearly all of my hardwood, so I planted some mahogany seeds and went to the secret woods to chop some stumps. I returned to my farm and crafted a whole bunch of lightning rods to gather the battery packs I would need the following year. After depleting my resources, I was off to the mines to work on Gunther's bone gathering quest. I completed it earlier than expected and had acquired even more bone swords in the process. The museum was closed, so I dropped off the bone fragments the next day. While I was at the Adventurers Guild selling the swords, I treated myself to a pair of space boots. I forgot that I had the cruddy tundra boots equipped. No wonder I had been taking so much damage. Feeling safer than ever, I returned home. I split my time between town and my farm on day 19. I gathered some hardwood from the secret woods and bought an iridium sprinkler from Krobus. While in town, I beachcombed, looking for an urchin my fish pond anchovy requested, but I only found coral. I dropped off the bones and Gunther awarded me 3,500 gold. I donated some goodies for the museum while I was there. I stopped by Clint's and gave the blacksmith an iron bar he had requested. There was a prize ticket waiting for me by the special orders board. I redeemed it for 4 bee houses. I set these up next to my house and will collect the honey, as it was free, but I'm not going out of my way to craft flower-specific honey, certainly not fairy rose honey. Just boring old honey isn't going to make me millions, so I'll allow it. I spent the rest of the evening cleaning up my farm. A letter was waiting for me on day 20. Gunther sent me a thank you note with instructions on how to construct a bone mill. Once my chores were finished, I was up to the mountains, where I ordered a shed from Robin. I purchased some wood that I'll be using to craft more preserve jars once the shed is complete. I stopped in town to wish Granny Evelyn a happy birthday and gifted her a diamond. I was off to the secret woods to chop stumps and did a spot of fishing when a spawning spot appeared. Once I returned to the farm, I did a little more cleaning up before heading into the mines where I slime hunted. I found a Forager's Delight hat, which doesn't look much different than my farming hat. All that slime squashing paid off. I reached level 10 combat and chose the brute profession, ensuring I deal 15% more damage. Day 21 was one for the books. It was Sunday, and I was going to the Desert Trader. I was going to wait until I had more jade to trade for staircases, but I was feeling lucky, so I took my chances. I was doing all right throughout the morning and afternoon, but it wasn't until the evening that my luck really started to ramp up. On level 95, I opened a chest to find a crystallarium. Are you kidding me? I couldn't believe it. Moments later, on floor 96, I found another prismatic shard. Soon I had reached level 100, and who was waiting for me? Pierre? Grandpa's ghost? No, it was Mr. Key, who still gives off big stalker vibes. He admonished me for using staircases, but decided it must have taken dedication to collect so much stone. To be fair, I was crafting more staircases as I went throughout the mine, so he wasn't wrong. The mysterious man offered some iridium snake milk to me, and as disgusting as it tasted, it permanently increased my health by 25. I continued into the mines and picked up a battery pack and iridium bat dropped. I would have liked to have picked up more, but one was a good start. I had added some tappers to some pine trees back on my farm, and with pine tar I can create rain totems, which will trigger storms, which will give me more battery packs. I left the mines very late, having reached level 109 with 140 pieces of iridium. There was a letter from Robin waiting for me on day 22. She had sent me 50 pieces of wood, and I thought that was very neighborly of her. After farm chores and stump busting in the secret woods, I picked up an aquatic overpopulation quest from Demetrius, who wanted me to fish up squid. If I have nothing else to do, I'll fish, but I really don't want to look at another squid. I took my watering can to Clint so the blacksmith could upgrade it to iridium quality. I went up to Jojamart, well, the truck outside of it specifically, and gave the driver a rabbit's foot a serpent had dropped in the mines. In exchange, he gave me a special charm. Now my luck is permanently increased. That afternoon, I moved my preserve jars, and I also moved around some of my farm buildings. I crafted preserve jars until I ran out of coal. I'll have to replenish my supply either in the mines or buying it from Clint. Hold on, there's actually a little area near the quarry that has coal nodes. I should go in there. At some point during the day, I dug up a camo shirt and white overalls. I didn't really feel like changing, so I stuck them in my dresser. On day 23, a lot of my forage was ready to harvest, so I got to work gathering it up and crafting it back into seeds. At this rate, I won't have to worry about hoeing up any of this area for my spring crops. When I checked on my farm friends, I was delighted to see that my little piggies were all grown up and will be ready to truffle hunt in the spring. I warped to the desert to grab some things out of my chest that I would want to take with me when I get to Ginger Island. I dropped by Leah's and gave her one of her loved gifts, a salad. That reminded me that I wanted to buy some more salads, so I stopped by the saloon. I went to the quarry and broke up in some coal nodes, then I ventured into the quarry mines. I took my time, breaking up the large rocks to replenish my dwindling supply and take out the haunted skulls. There were some interesting monster drops, including male and female cursed mannequins, a dark sword, a skeletal hand artifact, the slammer, and a pair of baggy pants. I left with a golden scythe and 67 pieces of coal. I tried on the baggy pants, and they just weren't for me. There was a visitor at my farmhouse on day 24. It was Leah. She brought me a wooden sculpture. She had named it How I Feel About Ghost, and I was so touched I displayed it on my porch. The forage from my mixed winter seeds was ready to harvest, and once it was all gathered up, I turned it back into seeds and replanted it. I had some extra powder melons, so I sold them. I picked up my iridium watering can from Clint's and dropped off some goodies at the museum. I only had one skill left to max out, foraging, so I was back to the secret woods for stump busting. While I was there, I did a little fishing when a spawning spot appeared. Robin had sent me a request for some hardwood, so I delivered it that afternoon. That evening, I went to the beach to work on Demetrius's special order request. I fished up 7 of the 10 squid and would try to finish it by the end of the week. My stump busting paid off. I reached level 10 foraging and chose the lumberjack profession. All trees have a chance to drop hardwood. I awoke with a strange feeling the morning of day 25, but I wouldn't have time to explore that feeling until after the festival. I got to work with farm chores. The pine tar for my rain totems was ready. I just needed the truffle oil that I'd be able to craft in the spring. My preserve jars were also ready, so I quickly refilled them before heading into town for the celebration. I chatted with the villagers and wished them pizza on earth, goodwill toward men. I bought a festive winter banner as a reminder of my first feast of the winter star. The time had come to give Shane his present. I chose one of my prettiest gold star hot peppers. He loved it. My secret gift giver was revealed to be Linus. Thankfully, he kept the wild bait at home and gave me a purple mushroom. Pizzas and mushrooms go well together, so it was a good pick. After the festival, I traveled south of the cindersap forest and found a secret room. There was a note from Grandpa. I had to keep working on my skills, and someday I'd be able to unlock his best tools and crafting recipes. That sounded exciting. I had a lot to look forward to in the upcoming year. On day 26, I finished my farm chores and headed to the secret woods for stump busting. I went into town and purchased an iridium sprinkler from Krobus before fishing up another legendary fish, the mutant carp. I stopped in the saloon and chatted with everyone. I brought Shane another gold star hot pepper because it's nice to see him smile. I went to the beach to finish Demetrius's special order request and took a little break to return to the saloon with a loved gift for Clint's birthday, a topaz. I dropped off an albacore Gus had requested, then I was back to the beach. I fished up the very last squid and was awarded 1,200 gold. I awoke on day 27 with a fright. The cursed mannequins had moved around during the night. I was hesitant to set them up in my house, and this is the reason why. Perhaps they were moving around looking for clothes. I had more forageables from mixed winter seeds ready, so I harvested them and crafted more seeds. In town, I had Clint open some mystery boxes for me. A mountain warp totem, a ring, and some parsnip seeds were found inside, and I sold all but the totem. I went into the lower levels of the mines to work on some monster eradication goals. Unfortunately, I found a haunted skull floor. As soon as you open up the quarry cave, these floors can start spawning in the regular mines. I'm not a fan. The rest of my mining trip was uneventful until a monster dropped 2 squire helmets. I wore one for the rest of the night. It was the last day of the year, day 28. I dressed the cursed mannequins so I'd be more aware of their nocturnal movements. I visited the desert trader for some staircases and exchanged 10 iridium bars for the desert warp totem recipe. By noon, I was back in town, where I discovered an adorable Jumino plush in the bush behind the playground. I claimed a prize token and exchanged it for 5 diamonds I would sell. I spent the evening in the mines, where I found a pretty red shirt. I changed into it before traveling to the Stardrop Saloon, where I rang in the new year with a cold one. I'm going to leave it here so we can enjoy the ride home, and I'll be back for year 2. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you'll be notified when a new video comes out. Please leave your comments and suggestions down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.